Makelight, and together with my husband Steph, we run Makelight together, and we also have 4 children. Running a startup with your husband is exciting, but it can also pose a few tricky things that you need to think about. Something that has really bothered me over the last few years, but I have finally got my head around, is that I still do most of the stuff around the house, and I do most of the childcare when the children aren't at school and we don't have our nanny. So if I need to take the children to school, or we need to take the children to school, it's usually me who takes them, and it's usually me who picks them up if someone needs to pick them up. If the washing needs doing, I tend to do it. Well, no, I always do it. If the washing needs doing, then that's my job. I do all the supermarket shopping. Thank you, Ocado, for having amazing online shopping facilities, but I do organise all of that. The cooking, I do most of the cooking as well. And I arrange all the things like the play dates and the after school clubs and the parties and all of those things that come in the package of being a mum or being a parent, but in my case, being a mum. Now, when we had children at the beginning, this was all kind of my role. And at the time, I was running a business, but it was much smaller than the thing that Steph was doing. So Steph was very much doing the main thing. And I was at home with the children, running something myself, but very much being a mum full-time, pretty much full-time, and running my thing along the side of that. Whereas Steph was doing much more of a 9 to 5, although it wasn't a 9 to 5, it was more like a 9 to 9 job. He was also running his own thing, but he was running that with other people, and it was a much bigger thing. And without Steph's work, then we couldn't have paid our rent, and we couldn't have got our car and all the things. So Steph's job was very much the main thing. Over the years, this kind of changed at times, but mainly Steph was doing the main thing. And then as I started to build Makelight, and Makelight got bigger and bigger, and then Steph joined me full-time last April at Makelight, suddenly it wasn't Steph doing the main thing that was earning the most money. We were doing that together. And so all this kind of being a mum and doing all the other stuff as well as running a company together started to really grate. So earlier I'd struggled with it and I'd kind of made peace with it and I'd got my head around it. But suddenly we were running a company together, and yet I was doing all the work at Makelight and then all the work at home, and it really didn't feel fair. And it made me kind of grumpy, as you would expect it to, and I kind of went through a lot of time about thinking about women and thinking about equality and thinking about the fact that we should share things in the home and trying to work that out and trying to suggest maybe Steph should do some of that, and then thinking that's not working very well because actually he's not very good at doing the washing, and trying to get my head around what we could do about it. In September, our 4th child started school full-time, so suddenly all our children were at school all the time, and for the first time ever I had childcare every single day of the week. And this was like massive for me because that's the first time for 10 years that I had had childcare every day for 5 days of a week. So that was great, but we had arranged it so that was great for me. I had childcare 9 to 3, 5 days a week, amazing. But Steph had childcare 9 to whatever time he wanted, 5 days a week. I was like, this doesn't feel quite fair either. What can we do about that? So I had the childcare thing and the doing all the stuff at home thing to try and get my head around. Now, we had lots of conversations about it, and we're still talking about it today, as you can imagine, but something has happened over the last few weeks that has really made me rethink this whole being grumpy about it and battling between the being a businesswoman and being a mum and running a business with my husband and trying to get my head around all of this, because I don't want to be grumpy when I'm with my children. I don't want to be turning up to school and saying, it's not fair that I'm at school, it should be Daddy's turn today. I don't want to be like that. I want to be really happy to be picking up my children, because the fact is I am happy to be picking up my children. I'm just also stressing about all the work that I've got to do when they've gone to bed. and trying to get my head around that. So I've been really thinking a lot about this, huge amounts about it. And I have been thinking about, the role of women and all that means for a long time, for most of my life actually. My mum is a very strong feminist, and I grew up in the 80s, the 70s, 80s, 90s, really understanding the importance of women's rights, and really believing that when I went to work everything would be fair and equal. And then I got a bit of a shock when it wasn't. So it's not something new for me to think about this, but I was trying to get my head around it and trying to work out how we could make it work for us. Work for us as a family, work for us as a couple, work for us as a company. And that is the really important thing here. We are running something together that needs to work, and it means that our company and our family are very much one. And when I started to think more about that, and we were having conversations about this towards the end of last year, about how the family is very much part of Makelight, and people that we had working with us at the time, really trying to get them to understand that the family part is just as important as everything else for us. It's very much a family business, and we're designing Makelight around the family, and all the wonderful part of that, all of that is brilliant and great and very exciting. But then there's all the stuff, the washing and the cooking and the cleaning and the supermarket shopping and the play dates and all of that stuff. How did that fit in? And then we started to talk about it, and thinking more about it being one, I suddenly thought, hang on a minute, all these jobs that I have to do, or someone has to do, one of us has to do, they are all part of the same thing. I can't code, so Steph has to write all the code for Makelight, and there's a ton of code for Makelight. Everything you see on Makelight we have built ourselves, so the course site we have built as well. I say we. Steph has built that. He's built all the Makelight tools. Everything Steph is hand coding it all. So he's very busy coding. I can't code. So if I started saying, oh Steph, maybe I'll learn to code, that would be a disaster. Almost as much of a disaster if Steph said, I will take care of the washing. Because on the times that I've been poorly or away and Steph's taken care of the washing, it's not quite gone to plan. Now, I'm sure that learning how to do washing is much easier than learning how to code. But the fact is that I can do the washing. I've got into a great routine of doing the washing. I know how many cycles of washing we have to do a day. And with a family of 6, there's a lot of washing to do. And it's quite a task to keep it all going and flowing, and everything being cleaned and dried and back in the wardrobes and back in the drawers. And so even though it feels like, well, that's a really simple, boring thing that anyone can do, and Steph gets to do exciting code, it is all part of the whole thing. And when I started to think about this, I was like, oh, okay, so if I'm picking up the children and then being with the children all afternoon and doing activities with them and cooking for them and putting them to bed and putting some washing on while they're in the bath and reading bedtime stories and then making dinner for us and then doing the Ocado shop, that is all work. And it is all work, but sometimes we don't think of it as work. We think of it as, oh, that's other stuff that has to be done, and the woman has to do that on top of everything else she has to do. Well, I'm in a really privileged position of working with my husband, so that when I am doing all of that, Steph is actually working on a company that I actually started. And so my company is building while I'm doing the washing, which is like a revelation and amazing and exciting, and suddenly makes doing the washing part of everything that I'm doing, and doesn't feel so grating and feel so annoying that I'm doing the washing while Steph's doing some code upstairs, or while he's running a Q&A, or replying to some students, or making some content, because it's all part of Makelight. It's all part of our family company. And I have felt so much better since realising this. The thing that we now have got to work on is, do I want to do all of that? So we have a cleaner now, which is amazing, because no, I don't want to be cleaning the bathroom. And I don't want to be hoovering when I could be spending time with my children, but I do want to be spending time with the children. And so we've been looking at kind of, are there things that maybe someone else can do? So someone else is here cleaning our house, which is amazing, and I know that we're very lucky to have that. But that again is part of the whole thing. It's part of building our company. Mona Lisa comes to do our cleaning, and I get to work. So that is really important, and again, it's all part of the whole. The thing that we are now looking at is how we can split the childcare when we don't have our nanny. So we're on the days that we are picking the children up from school, can we maybe split that so it's not always me and sometimes it's Steph and I get to carry on working and Steph is with the children. So that's something that we are looking at. But things that I know that I can do, that I'm good at, that keep everything running, everything calm, everything going smoothly, is so important that I take kind of ownership of that really and put a value on that makes it just as important as the code that Steph is writing. And above all, I want to know that I can feel that if I have worked through the day and then gone to school and picked up the children and done all the things with the children and then put them to bed and then made the dinner, that then I can sit down and do nothing if I want to, and I don't have to feel like I then have to pick up my laptop and carry on working. At the moment, I am doing that because we are in a real growth point with Makelight and I am needing to do that. But if I just want to put on some telly or watch a film or read a book or a magazine, that I feel like I can do that without feeling any guilt whatsoever that I am not working, because Steph has been working all day and I have just been looking after the children from 3 o'clock. So I have talked to Steph about this and said, is it okay if I just, lie on the sofa tonight and watch some telly? And Steph's like, of course you can. What are you talking about? I didn't realise the guilt was all from me. So I feel guilty when I'm not working or when I've been looking after the children and then I'm not starting work. But Steph has seen it all as one for ages, but I didn't realise this. So he totally understands that all the things in the house need doing, that all the things with the children need sorting out. And he has been seeing it as all one thing. It's just that some of those things he can do, some of those things he's not so good at and can't do, some of those things he just doesn't have the thought pattern to do it or to register without me having to remind him to do. But he does see it all as one. So having rest is just as important as getting the laptop out and carrying on, because if I'm well rested, then I'm better to work with, I can produce better content, I can be better for you guys, I can be better for the Makelight members, and I can be a better mum. So rest is also part of the whole thing, and there's no guilt from anyone apart from myself. So it was only me putting the guilt on. It was only me kind of getting all agitated about these things. Now, for some people, you could have a partnership where you are running a company together and you've got children together and you're both just as good at doing everything around the house. You're both just as good as doing everything that needs to be done in the company. So that is where you need to sit down and work out who does what and how you can make it really fair for you. But for us, right now, it's feeling fair. Suddenly, I feel like the lights have switched on. Someone's told me something I just didn't realise for all this time. And I'm feeling so much happier. I'm skipping to school to pick up the children and feeling like I can spend that time with the children, knowing that that is just as an important part of my work and all that I'm doing as, sitting there on my laptop, writing a blog post or making content or speaking to my students, or the code that Steph does, or speaking to the accountant, or doing the accounts. It's all part of running a business and company together. So I'm not saying that women should do all the things around the house and men should do all the code or running all the company stuff. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that for us, I've suddenly had this light bulb moment that I just really, really wanted to share with you. And a feeling that actually I can do all these things around the house with just as much love as I can with anything that I'm putting into Makelight, because it's all part of building this company, of building this thing, of helping people and of building my family and looking after our 4 children and looking after each other and building a happy home within which, I'm filming this in my home right now, within which we are also building a happy company to share with you. So I hope that has inspired you a little bit, made you think. I'm definitely not saying women should do all the things around the home. I just wanted to say that one more time. I'm just saying that is working for us and putting it all into this idea of everything being one and everything being part of what you're doing and being connected can really help you to feel better about the parts of a business that you are running yourself.